Hello there guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Nomadic Timbo, and today I'm going to talk to you about my top 5 favorite countries that I've ever been to. Since I started this channel, I've really wanted to make this video and I've been very excited for it. But I think now is the right time to do it. But I will say that they are my favorite countries so far, because there are more to experience, of course, and well, I mean, even if I revisit some of the countries that I've been to, then that list might change over time. But at this moment in time, in 2022, yeah, I'm pretty sure after putting a lot of thought into it that this is my top 5. So I hope you enjoy it. Okay, I'll start off by honorable mentions. Like, one of them is definitely Morocco, because Morocco is just such a fascinating culture. It's like an amazing mixture between the African and a little bit of Middle East as well, I think. The food is amazing, whether you have tagine or couscous meals, particularly home cooked. And admittedly, because I've gotten into surfing quite a lot over the last 5 years, you know, it's got a special place in my heart because it's one of my favorite countries to surf in, so that would bring it up pretty higher on the list for sure. And yeah, I mean, visiting the Sahara Desert, very unique experience, as well as being beautiful in a different way compared to a lot of you might be experiencing who are watching this. Incredible architecture, whether it's the exterior of the buildings or the interior of the buildings, they're very beautiful to look at. Fantastic arts and crafts as well that you can get there for like so cheap. And speaking of cheap, the other thing I love is that it's very affordable and very accessible from Europe. So yeah, that's probably why it's an honorable mention. Another honorable mention would be Slovenia, because like I've been trying to go to the Balkans like every 2 years pre-pandemic. Excuse me. And yeah, I think out of the ones that I've experienced so far, I think I probably have to pick Slovenia, because for such a small country, it's just amazing how much variety it's got to it. And it really does feel like a gateway. Well, I mean, it kind of is a gateway between Central Europe and Eastern Europe, because you got like the mountains that feel like the Alps, so I think they are part of the Alps. I can't quite remember exactly, so apologies for that. And also when you go to the coastline, it reminds you very much of like Croatia and Montenegro. So there's a lot of variety. And also go to the caves if you go there. The caves are just phenomenal and so deep. And when you go inside of them, you can't help but feel, and there might be, I don't know, some goblins, or, well, hopefully not goblins or orcs that show up, but yeah, it's got that kind of feel to it, and very dramatic, and yeah, definitely check it out if you have the chance. Another honorable mention, I'm going to cheat with this one a little bit, but it would be the Nordic countries, and I'll give a shout out to Norway, because Norway is a country I've lived in for 2 years, and it's done a lot of favors for me, particularly financially, but also it's very beautiful to experience, because when you go to the western part of the country, you see these gorgeous fjords mixed with the mountains. It's a very nice, quite a laid-back kind of atmosphere. People are pretty friendly as well. You know, you're not really going to get too many problems there. Well, no problems, I should say, if I'm honest. And yeah, I mean, even though it's quite expensive in Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, and like Iceland, like I think the scenery alone and the breathtaking landscapes that you experience, combined with the nice, calm kind of atmosphere, makes it very worthwhile in visiting. So yeah, check it out. And then I think this is almost getting like a top 10, but I'll mention one more honorable mention, and that would be Spain. I've been to Spain 4 times or 5, I can't remember now, but it's 4 or 5 anyway. And I've had the fortune of experiencing, you know, quite a variety of the country, whether it would be like in the northern part of the country, although I haven't been to the Basque part yet, so I got to check that out next time, and the south. And yeah, what I like about Spain, again, I'm a bit of a sucker for mellow kind of atmospheres, but that's just me. But yeah, it's a very mellow atmosphere, fantastic climate, amazing historical buildings, wonderful coastlines to check out, and like an amazing interior as well as like incredible buildings and architecture. And if you're a bit of a history buff, it's fantastic to check out. The food is also great. And if you go down to the southern part of the country, then it tends to be one of the more affordable parts of Western Europe. So yeah, there's a lot of good reasons to visit Spain because of how easily accessible it is, but set that aside, it's just well worth visiting anyway, so do yourself a favor and go there. Okay, so this is the moment, so going into the top 5 now. Number 5 will be Sri Lanka, and this comes as no surprise to a lot of you who know me probably, but like, there's no way I could not put Sri Lanka in this top 5 because like even before the pandemic, I'll get to that in a moment, but even before the pandemic, I made a habit of going there like on an annual basis in the early months of the year to escape from winter because, sorry guys, those of you who are a fan of winter, yeah, it's not for me, not most of the time. So I tried to escape it, and I feel that I found the country where I could really get into like a routine of escape in the winter, as well as one of the primary reasons, which is for surfing. I don't think you can come across a better country for improving your surfing, no matter what level it is you're at. I mean, some people may argue with that, and I get it if that's the case. But I feel that no matter what level you're at, if you're looking to go from beginner to intermediate or intermediate to advanced, then I think it's an amazing country for that to happen. The wildlife is incredible too, very, very similar to the Indian wildlife. So it's like full of extremely exotic animals that you see just pretty much on a daily basis, particularly like monitor lizards and, well, hopefully not snakes, but you do see them. But also mongoose, and like a few other reptilian animals and small mammals. And when you do the safaris are really, really affordable. You don't have to pay too much to see like incredible animals up close, like elephants, and if you're really lucky and it's not too crowded, you can actually get pretty close to leopards, like I had the good fortune of doing. So I feel very grateful for that. And the atmosphere is lovely, people are very friendly overall, and the food, man, the food is definitely one of my favorites. But then I'm a sucker for spicy foods, I would say that. So yeah, I mean, obviously it's going through some, you know, a bit of a bad time politically and economically, to say the least. And yeah, and I genuinely mean it when I hope it really gets better sooner rather than later, because during the pandemic it was my refuge. I don't even like to say that word, but yeah, it was the place I was living for a year and a half during that time, and so as a result I definitely consider it to be my second home now, and hopefully I'll return there sooner rather than later. But shout out to you guys who are there, who, you know, are still living there. I hope it gets better for you soon, and look forward to seeing you again. So number 4 would be, and the funny thing is that this is on the list for a similar reason to Sri Lanka, even though they're like totally different countries. But the reason that Portugal is number 4 is because Portugal, again, is a very surf-related culture. Particularly if you go to the Algarve. Well, I mean, any coastline in Portugal has got quite a bit of surf available, and beautiful historical buildings, super chilled out like lifestyle and atmosphere, and that's why it's up there on the list for similar reasons to Sri Lanka, because there's really a nice community there. And like particularly when you go to the Algarve, you have like a mixture of internationals and locals, and everybody gets on extremely well with each other. Food is pretty nice as well, and I said earlier about south of Spain being a very affordable part of Western Europe. I think probably this is the most affordable part of Western Europe, because every time I've gone to Portugal, I've always been amazed at how really great the prices are compared to certainly Northern Europe. And fantastic climate, but then I'm a person who, you know, prefers dry heat, and like I would really recommend going maybe around spring or like September, October time. Perfect time to visit there. But even if you're there in the summer and you end up living there, like I hope to in the future, then yeah, definitely go and visit, because it's definitely worth your time, and yeah, you'll have a blast. It's great for meeting a lot of people, and well, if you're into partying and stuff like that, I mean, I've slowed down from that a little bit lately, but yeah, it doesn't do any harm to do it now and again. But yeah, there's plenty of that available too. So you you've got a good you've got a good mixture between having something that's really mellow, but also something that has a lot of like events going on and like maybe some nightlife if that's what you're interested in. So yeah, check it out. Number 3, this one might be surprising to some people because of how accessible or how easily accessible it is from the UK. I've been to this country 6 times, I think, overall, but it has to be France. And this is what's really hilarious, is that I've barely checked out the coastal parts of France. So, I mean, once that happens, maybe it'll go even higher up on the list. But as of now, I mean, it's still super high at number 3. And the reason for that is because, again, I know I'm talking about historical buildings and architecture, but I really, really love particularly medieval buildings. And France is full of them with its castles and chateaus. It's almost like every town you go into has an amazing church or castle. Well, maybe not castle, but chateau at least. And yeah, it gives it a very moving kind of atmosphere. Pretty chilled out as well, particularly when you go to the south of France. But when you go amongst the Alps as well, close to the Swiss border. Shout out to Switzerland as well. The only reason this isn't on the list is because I haven't been there for almost 30 years, but I'm pretty sure when I go back it'll be quite high up. So I thought I'll give a shout out to that. But yeah, when you're amongst the Alps, I mean, the scenery is breathtaking. Quite a nice lifestyle as well. But like the last few times I've been there has been to the south, and whether you're in the countryside or a city, it gives you a really, really nice feeling when you're there, because I find locals tend to be very, very approachable, particularly even if you just speak a few French words to them, they definitely appreciate it, and I find them to be very helpful overall. Food is pretty nice too. Like, I mean, you need to like your carbs, admittedly, for it, but overall, yeah, really, really good combination between having bread, cheese, and wine. And I mean, there's a lot of other French dishes that you can try that are, equally as good. But I thought I'd just mention that just to give you a bit of an idea if you've never been there before. And if you've never been there before, then definitely do yourself a favor and go and check it out, because it's definitely a very accessible part of Europe. And there's loads to see. Big country, so it means that even if you don't see what you need to see or you want to see on the first visit or second visit, then it just gives you an excuse to go back again. Number 2, that would have to go to Canada. I mean, I'm a bit of an outdoors freak, which is an understatement, particularly when it comes to, hiking and trekking, sometimes skiing as well, although because I'm not hanging around in winter conditions too much. That's quite rare, but I do like it when the opportunity arises. But yeah, I did a working holiday visa in Canada, and yeah, I mean, when walking around like the Canadian Rockies in the Alberta province, or whether it was being by the mountains or the coastlines in British Columbia, just completely and utterly blew my mind. And guys, if you don't go there with a camera, then you should definitely have shame on you, because I mean, it's one of the most photogenic places you could ever see, particularly if you're into like landscape photography, but even if you're into wildlife photography as well. You've got a really, really good chance of taking some amazing photos of, well, I know this sounds amazing, but like seeing black bears in particular, maybe not brown bears, but the black bears, you see them so easily, it's just ridiculous. And yeah, you get to see it, like, if you're lucky like I was, and I mean, I still can't believe that I ended up seeing a wolf, but I did. But so yeah, you got a chance to see one or a pack of them if you're lucky. Also, if you go to Vancouver Island, you see like orcas, sea otters, sea lions, grey whales, and you also get to see inland again. You see like elk and like moose, deer. So like wildlife is really, really in abundance, as well as the breathtaking scenery. And the western part, I don't know about the east because I've never been to the east, but the western part of Canada's got like a super laid back lifestyle. And so the combination of that and the fact that it's an amazing outdoorsy kind of place, if you're into those kind of things, then do yourself a favor and go there, because if you don't, it's a bit of a crime. I mean, yeah, it's just like if you're into wildlife or any kind of nature, There's not many countries that could beat it, if I'm honest. Okay, and that brings me to number one. Number one is there for a similar reason to Canada, but I think it just about beats it, mainly because it's probably even more laid back than Canada, to the extent where it's probably horizontal. So that would have, again, you guys who know me pretty well, you won't be at all surprised to hear me say this, because, well, my love for Lord of the Rings is one of the big reasons why New Zealand is number one. But there are many other things as well, and basically I just cannot believe that I went to a country that was not much bigger than the UK, really, a very, very similar size. And yeah, I mean, I was there for 4 weeks and I felt that was nowhere near long enough. It was like almost everywhere was worth seeing when you're in New Zealand. Because whether I was traveling via car or hitchhiking or a bus, it was almost like everywhere I saw, I just wanted to stop. It was like you just want to stop like every 3 minutes, because everywhere is just an incredible sight and view. And yeah, I mean, like the North Island is stunning, absolutely stunning. You know, great coastlines, particularly in Paihia and the Bay of Islands. Really, really wonderful places to check out. And also Wellington is a great city too. Got a lot of character to it, and it's got some really nice outdoorsy surrounding areas that you can check out. But I think the place where it's at is the South Island, because the South Island, I mean, you just cannot believe that what you're looking at is real. It's just ridiculous, because you can see maybe 4 or 5 different countries in one landscape, with New Zealand's own unique touch on top of it. And I don't know if I've ever been to a country that felt more suitable for me personally, because it had every outdoors activity, whether it would be by the coast or inland, covered. And you could give them at least like an 8 out of 10, but more likely they are 9 or 10 out of 10 for those activities. And pretty much everybody you meet, at least in the South Island, well, not everybody, but like the vast majority of people that you meet, whether they are, you know, New Zealanders or travelers, they all seem to have like an amazing love and passion for the outdoors. And I find that when you meet people like that, they tend to be some of the most interesting that you can meet, and some of the best people to hang out with. And yeah, I think all of those, I mean, basically all of these countries I mentioned on this list, I'll go into more detail about them in future videos, so I don't want to drag on. But yeah, regarding New Zealand, that's why it's number one on my list, because of how it made me feel here. I really felt like a very deep sense of connection to that country, and the only reason I'm not living there now is because of the isolation. But that's the only drawback to it. Apart from that, I don't think you could get a more perfect country, if I'm honest. So there you have it, guys. I mean, hope you enjoyed this video and found it interesting. I really enjoyed making it, and obviously, you know, everybody's going to have different lists. I mean, it's a bit like James Bond films, really. Like, you know, there's 25 of those films, and you can meet 100 people, and nobody would have the same order with their rankings. And I'm pretty sure it's the same thing with ranking like favorite countries too. But let me know in the comment section on what your top 5 favorites are, and if you have honorable mentions too, then definitely include them. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Thought I'd share it with you because I think it's well worth you know, recommending these countries. But like I said, I mean, shout out to all of the 36 countries that I've been to, because they all have a lot to offer in their own ways, and I will cover them in other videos. But there you have it, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.